Women's Day on the theme, Breaking the Bias. A very, very special appreciation goes to you, Your Excellency, our dear First Lady, for choosing the Ashanti region, the land of the golden stool, and for that matter, the best university in Ghana, Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, to host, thank you very much, to host this very, very important event. Madam, we are truly, truly grateful for the honor done us, and we are indeed extremely delighted to have you here. Thank you very much. Just briefly, as we are aware, all around the world, the achievements of women are being, which is unconscious, unintended, implicit, unexamined, that we all inherently are capable of exhibiting to some degree in our day-to-day interactions. And those are the ones that we must look out for. How do these manifest? The individual who acts with bias sees through a distorted lens and engages with an imagined individual, an expectation, not with the real one. These biases can be seen as violence to the soul because it attacks not only a person's circumstances and physical situation, but it particularly attacks a person's sense of worth. It starts from childhood and it goes on and on and on. Family, school, workplace, society, everywhere. Every individual, ladies and gentlemen, has some level of uniqueness that must be appreciated. Your Excellency, I must say that this is something that everybody's hand is needed on deck to be able to appreciate and to work on. Sorry. It is not a question of a women's thing. It is a human problem. Sorry. It is a human problem, and we must all look at it through that lens and do everything we can
of most women has improved in recent decades. Gender biases persist. Just really be able to influence government policy. It is time for the younger generation to rise up, taking advantage of the favorable education policies and other programs of the akufo-addo government to advance themselves for Professor Mrs. Rita Akosua-Dickson here today, who happens to be the first female Vice Chancellor of the Kwame Nkrumah University of
Ekunini ni enintini free echichiri ni benche abetai enejumedi yase Emma ene merima memamo atina fighting to ensure the sustainability of humanity and the entire creation. ɔde biribi dua ne mu ɔde akyɛdeɛ bi hyɛ ne nsa ɔde asodie bi to ne so me
participate. So if women are integral to peace, why do we it is? Thank you.
He will lead the negotiations. You're too ambitious.
An all hands on deck approach to break the bias. Give me a round of applause if you believe this is so and if you are committed to doing that. We'd like to at this point also acknowledge the presence of the paramount Queen Mother of Agogo, Nana Afrakoma Sewa Kusi Obuado. Thank you for coming.
We also have in our midst the Queen Mother of Denyase traditional area, Nana Educhumwa Bonin III. The Queen Mother, Paramount Queen Mother of Tepa, Nana Ejewa Pemu II is also here. A round of applause for Nana Punama Dampong, Emprinso Paramount Queen Mother. Thank you very much for attending to us this day. Now we are breaking the bias. Shall we all see? We are breaking the bias indeed.
So we've heard the phrase break the bias so many times this morning, and I'm sure some of you have a lot of questions. So what are these biases? Why are they so ingrained in the Ghanaian society? Well, this part of the program seeks to contextualize, simplify, and analyze the phenomenon of gender bias in Ghana. They say that awareness of the problem is a first step to change. So how do we develop a better sense of awareness so we're able to call out these biases when we encounter them? That is what the panel discussion will be about. And I'm excited to tell you that our panelists are drawn from diverse backgrounds and they come with lived experiences that will enrich this conversation. So let's meet our panelists. Lamnatu Adam is a development practitioner with over 20 years experience in gender and human rights activism. She holds an MSc in local economic development and is executive director at Songtaba. Please help me welcome Lamnatu Adam. Our next panelist is an assistant lecturer at the Department of Statistics and Actuarial Science at the KNUST. Her aim is to inspire young women to enter careers in the captivating field of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. A round of applause for Sandra Adehene. Amtu Amayao Ikumfi is a student leader and an advocate for underprivileged people and the inclusion of youth, women, and children. Amtu holds a degree in political science and French, and she is a professional makeup artist. Please help me welcome Amtu Amayao Ikumfi.
On the panel today, we also have Mami Ya Echia Mensah Bonsu. Mami Ya is a lecturer at the University of Ghana School of Law and a senior associate at Ashong Benjamin and Associates. Her research interests lie in the area of gender rights, disability rights, and the intersection of gender, disability, and law. Shall we welcome upstage Mamiya Echia Mensa Bonsu. Let's also welcome the Honorable Abena Osei Asari. She is the Member of Parliament for Itiwa East constituency. She is a chartered accountant by profession and the Deputy Finance Minister in charge of revenue of the Republic of Ghana, and a strong advocate for improving systems and processes to facilitate productivity. Let's welcome Honorable Abena Osei Asari to the stage. Thank you very much, ladies. So we are going to have our panel discussion, and we are going to set the ball rolling with Amtu. Amtu, as you've heard, is a student leader, and she has her own experiences. She has witnessed other people's experiences, and she is going to share them with us today. Amtu, I would like to ask you, you are in student politics, so we know that politics, the political climate in Ghana is not exactly favorable for women. Is it the same in student politics or worse, even with the expectation of women having to vie for women-inclined positions? How is the climate like in student politics?
And first of all, I'd like to say thank you very much for the opportunity, the First Lady and all the other distinguished guests here. So, as you rightly said, in a space like mainstream politics, it's unfortunate that we don't have like a very conducive climate for women. And it's not very different from student politics, because student politics is like the grooming ground where people move from that space into mainstream politics. So yes, it's very similar, and it's unfortunately it's more petty, I believe, from my experiences. It's more petty in student politics than in mainstream politics, because a lot of the time you have like people that have like more experiences, so they are able to endure. But for students politics, it's very, very bad. People go as far as speaking about petty things like what your dress looks like, who you are speaking to, and things like that. So it's very petty, and it's the same as mainstream politics.
Thank you for sharing, Amtu. Let me come to Abena Osei Asari. I'm sure you can relate with the experiences that have been shared by Amtu. How difficult is it navigating the hostile environment as a female politician at the national level?
Thank you very much. I want to stand on existing protocols and thank the First Lady and the organizers of this program, and also for giving me the opportunity to express my views concerning this. I can't agree with Amtu more. It's like that in the world, that in that space you have to fight to be heard. And your fight is not just a simple fight. You have to go beyond the normal as a female politician to enable your voice to be heard. I remember in 2010, there was a by-election in my constituency, and I decided to put myself up for. And at that time, they said, what is it that you can do, you think you can do, that the men haven't done or the men are not doing? One, you are too young, and two, you are female. Unfortunately for me, in 2010, I lost that primaries, but I persevered, and I had the support system. So in order for us to break this barrier, we should have a support system to help us break the barrier. One, I had a support system of the family, and that alone gave me that confidence that whatever I decide to do, irrespective of my age and my gender, I will be able to achieve that. So in 2012, the constituency was split into two. I contested again with 3 other men, and I was successful. So I would say that it's all about the perseverance and the family support, because you need that to give you that confidence. And beyond that, we expect society to also do more to support and break that bias. And fortunately for me, in 2019, when the University of Ghana Political Science Department decided to have an assessment on members of parliament, I was I placed 4th out of the 275 MPs that were assessed. And in terms of the female, I came first. So there is nothing that you can't do when you set out to do it. But we need to create that system, that support, that will help the ladies, as well as give them that confidence that they too can do all things that they set out to do. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable. I would quickly move on to Sandra. She is into STEM. So I would like to ask you, what are the biases that we need to break in the education sector, especially with the education of women and girls, with the course of study and even the career path that they want to choose? Are there biases that you have identified in this regard that need to be broken?
Thank you very much, Regina. I'm very glad to be here this morning for this particular program. When I was actually growing up, I had a problem of people telling me that mathematics is a very difficult subject and I do not have to do it. So I have to go for courses that are a little bit softer and okay for women to do. When I was in primary school, I was very good at math and that is what I wanted to do. My family members and a couple of people around me told me that, you know what, there are not a lot of females in the mathematics field. Have you ever heard of people or females who are into physics, chemistry, biology, or mathematics? You'll be deemed as very masculine. And these actually, along the line, it's actually, I actually wanted to leave the field and do something more softer as society deemed me to be. But I went ahead to do general science. And during the SS level 2, I was told to choose other subjects that would help me to come back to the house early and take care of the children. But I actually forged ahead to do courses that is related to mathematical sciences, where people see us to be very masculine and we don't really understand what we want. And there are lots of biases when you come to these fields of mathematics, because we have the perceived idea that male students are better than female students when it comes to the STEM subjects like the sciences, technology, the engineering, and the mathematics sciences. I have also had issues with the fact that I went for an interview about 3 years ago to be a female teacher in a private school. And when I was there, I was asked if I was married or not. I was asked if I had children. And I asked the recruiter, has me being married or have kids has anything to do with me being a mathematics teacher? And there's a possibility that one day you'll be in school and you'll be called that you have to come home and take care of your children. There is a possibility that you will get pregnant and wouldn't be able to come to school and teach the kids. So the fact that at that particular break, they would have to employ another person to come and take your position as a mathematics teacher in that field. And frankly speaking, it was very hurtful when I got home. I didn't get the job, though I wasn't married, but I didn't get the job. They actually chose someone who was a male to take up the job because they had that policy that within the 2 years that you get the job, you do not have to get pregnant. And that was a very serious issue for me. And I think that that was one of the biases that I had issues with. And there's one last thing that I want to talk about too, is that I have been scouting around for accommodation for a while now. And then I chanced on one that I really liked, so I went into this woman's house to talk to her about the accommodation that I would want to have. And the first thing that she actually told the agent that is the person coming in a woman. We are looking for somebody who can clean and keep the house neat for us. So in this, I know my room and my place that when I get into somebody's space or even in my own space, I'm supposed to clean it up. But because she said it out loud that she needed somebody like that, it has become more of the responsibility of the woman to clean the house. So I still have the perception that people still think that we are supposed to be the cleaners, the caretakers, the mothers, but we are not actually encouraged enough to do or probably study courses that are more masculine, hard, courses that are very difficult as we think. They feel like we are very vulnerable and soft. There are a lot of examples out here today that will help us break the biases. Thank you very much.
And Sandra, we will hear more of these examples from your field of study. Let's come to Lamna to Ajam. You're on the ground, on the field. You are executive director at Somtaba. You work up north. Share with us the dynamics of gender bias in your field of work. How devastating is it?
Thank you very much. And I want to start by saying Assalamu alaikum and bring you greetings from up north. And I want to appreciate the First Lady and the office for having me to be part of this. Gender bias is quite intense if you're working closely with people in our communities. From where I am coming from, we have issues of male dominance and patriarchy. And let me say that some of the bias that women, and for that matter girls, go through are quite systemic. You will hear that in northern Ghana, for that matter in northern region, we are playing host to so many alleged witches' camps. And I keep asking, why is it that out of whatever numbers of women or people that are accused, we have as much as 98% of them being women? And why are they aged? And I ask again, what is it that when it comes to women, the belief is that she's using her power to destroy? But when it comes to men, he is using his power to guard the society, to protect the home. I think that's a serious bias that we need to call out. And to say that women are afraid of getting old in our communities. I'm happy we have our First Lady here, and I think that that's a serious issue that we need to deal with. Nonetheless, why are women always seen to be at the back? All because we are told to be submissive, all because we are always to report and to seek permission from our male brother, even if we are older than the brothers. In our families, they say we should wait for the man before we make the decision. Even as old as we are, but the younger man or boy is the one to make the decision. All of this is a serious bias. And I want to say that it's about time that women took the space, that women can also deliver. A lot of the time we hear that she's just a housewife. She's not doing anything, but she cleans the house. She nurtures the children. She does all of that, that money may not be able to pay. How much does it cost for those of us that travel to have your shirt washed in our hotels? Yet the woman does everything, and she's still referred to not doing anything. And you know, if she's not able to have time for herself, then she cannot contribute even to decision making. And all of the thinking that she cannot do anything will also not let her be able to take up any space that is available in terms of leadership. We hear when women want to go further, then they say that she's actually or probably a witch or she's a prostitute, especially if she's in a male-dominated position as we see in our parliamentary and district level elections. And so women are doing so much, and it's good that society first recognize that the role that women are playing is very important so that they can help us to reduce the workload of women and girls. and redistribute the gender roles. That is further, strengthen the gaps between men and women. And also, let me add that isn't it about time that as we are calling for the bias, that we should also urge our political leaders to get committed in passing the affirmative action bill. Thank you.
It's interesting that Lamnatu has mentioned the affirmative action bill. It's one of the oldest bills, and a lot of activists are looking for the day or waiting for the day when they would hear that it has been passed into law. But let me come to you, Mami, because we're talking about law. We've placed a lot of premium on the affirmative action bill. Does the law in and of itself guarantee an end to discrimination, bias, and stereotyping?
Thank you for the question, and thank you, First Lady and her office for the invitation. I was very surprised to be called. So to answer your question, I don't think that any lawyer would say the law answers all questions. It's impossible. The law itself sometimes can create problems. And I'll give you a most recent example. The Land Act 2020, in Section 47, it restricts transactions involving land by spouses and says you cannot transact, even lease, mortgage, property that was acquired during marriage without the written consent of your spouse, in the absence of a prior written agreement. Now, how many spouses are there be writing contracts? I will not sell without your knowledge. I will not. And so, in trying to, I suppose, sometimes when we take steps in the law to protect women, because you can see clearly that it was to prevent men from selling on the sly so that women would not be dispossessed. You are also disadvantaging women who have the power to buy land. And for some people, they have to hide these things from their men because their men don't want them to be empowered. So now you've taken an avenue away from a certain group of women who needed that channel to protect themselves. So the law can sometimes create problems. Now, if you're going to the affirmative action bill, I always say that affirmative action is like a double-edged sword. It cuts right because it puts women where women must be. We have to have representation. It is important. Seeing women actually work their way to the top is important. But it can also be a negative. It can also cut negatively in the sense that it can create the impression that women need extra support to get there. Otherwise, we couldn't have gotten there without that help. So when you say something like, and typically in Ghana, affirmative action policies look like, this is the board of so-and-so corporation, one of whom must be a woman. One of whom must be a woman. So you are legislating the position. So there's always going to be a woman. But very often you'll find it will be one woman, because that's the one that the law says. So the minimum is met. Or you'll find that there will be a woman who is not competent, only because the law says find a woman, so they'll find a woman. As to whether the woman is competent is a different matter. So it is possible to even use the same mechanism to defeat the aim, because you can deliberately hire somebody who is not competent, so that you can say, you see, we gave the women a chance, they didn't do anything. It is possible to manipulate the system even with affirmative action. Or, and as I was explaining in other areas, the problem is not so much affirmative action as sometimes the higher up you go, the fewer women you will meet. So where are the women to put there? So affirmative action is top-down and is brilliant. It has to be done. But the greater work, I think, comes from the society, the sociocultural space, the bottom-up. Fill those spaces this way, and then you can put affirmative action on top. Then you'll find competent women in the correct places. Otherwise, you're just putting on paper great things that won't operationalize to the effect that you want for women.
Thank you very much, Mami. I will put the next question to Honorable Abina Ose Asari. I would like to ask a very simple question. Where do we find the balance between affirmative action and tokenism so that we are able to maintain a certain standard even for women who are looking to be appointed into positions?
Sometimes, in all these biases, they never talk about competence. So that is not even something that is on the table. They don't talk about competence at all. It's just the gender issue. And so if we go beyond that and start looking at competence, irrespective of the gender, I believe that we have very capable women who are competent enough to fill positions and then fill, the big sports that we have. So the discussion should be more about competence. And in asking for competence, we have a lot of women here as examples. Our first lady, our second lady, Lady Julia, our own and one and only chief of staff, who has been the chief of staff for the first term of the president and the second term as well. It's never happened. So in terms of competence, it is there. I believe that the Affirmative Action Bill is one of the systems or one of what we can use to sort of bridge that gap. But it's not the solution in itself, because the biases are so endemic such that if you don't work on them, the Affirmative Action Bill alone cannot solve the problem. We know women, by our biological nature, we are supposed to procreate and give birth to children. Yet, in the office setting, when someone sees a woman pregnant, sometimes the comment they pass, to wait, you are always pregnant. They say that, and some people are not able to stand those things. They end up being at home, and then they lose their jobs in the end. And then, for those of us who are able to do the 9 months, and then we do our 3 months of maternity leave, getting back into to the work or the agency or the organization is one of the most difficult things for women. Because sometimes, if it's in the man's world, you are left behind. Trying to reintegrate back into your office space is not easy. So I believe that apart from the Affirmative Action Bill, systems should be put in place to support such reintegration back to office after the woman has given birth. You look at a whole institution like Parliament. Consistently, for the female MPs, if you have children and you are supposed to take part in parliamentary duties, you have to leave the child at home and come. But in this modern age, where we have technology defining the workspace, I think that we should take it up and make sure that we give access to female parliamentarians online to enable them discharge their duties when they have to take care of children. I remember in 2 terms ago, I had my last child in Parliament, and then I was on the Public Accounts Committee. We were traveling from region to region, and I was also determined to do the 6 months exclusive because I wanted my son to come out well. And so everywhere we went, I had to carry this boy along with me, and I was at the mercy of people to prepare his porridge, his food for me, and that is difficult for most women. Some are not able to go that line, and then they end up leaving the job space. That's how come we don't have enough women in the formal space. In the informal space, our women fill up most of the spaces in the informal space, but we want to see more of our women in the formal space. So that is why I'm asking that we should put systems in place to support our women to also push hard and get to the various positions that we feel they are capable of filling. So I believe that it's not just the Affirmative Action Bill, but we should put the systems, the right systems in place to support our women in this regard.
You've talked about the world of work in your submission, and I'm going to Sandra now. You've talked about the world of work in your submission. Sandra, you work in a field that's male-dominated. You shared your experience, how people were discouraging you from going on that tangent. Has there been any moment, have you needed or felt that you needed to work harder to prove yourself in your field of work so that you are respected and taken seriously by your male colleagues?
Thank you very much. Yes, there have been a couple of times that I have had these issues of proving myself over and over again that I can do something that a male can also do. Because the field that I'm in is more of a male-dominated field, that's the mathematical sciences. So anytime that people see a female around, mostly what they say is, sorry, hey, obapa na oye mathematics-related subjects. Sometimes if you are somebody who cannot take these kind of things as a compliment, it becomes a bit of a problem, and you may decide to even opt out at all. Quite recently, about some few years ago, I had to do some data analysis with a friend that we had to go in for a workshop. And I think the lady before me came in to do her presentation with her team. So when we got into the hall, we were told to do the presentation, but the master of the house asked me, who is going to do the presentation today? I said, I am. He said, no, you have to call the male to come in to do it because the lady that came before you didn't do a good job. So my presentation was based on somebody else's presentation she had already done and left. And the point is that I really wanted to stop the whole program and go home because I was really hurt. But there was a male that was with me that day, and he was like, Madam, you did the work. Go ahead and do it. And nobody can tell you what to do. Prove to them that you are a female and you can do as much as the male also can do. So this is one of the challenges that I have faced. I have to prove myself over and over and over again that I can do it. I belong in the mathematical sciences. There have been people there who have proved themselves, and I think that I can also prove myself.
Thank you, Sandra. Amtu, this is your question. Now, there are some biases that we often overlook and not see as bias, even as women. For example, if you have a boss and you are going for a presentation, they could easily tell you, dress this way, show a little cleavage, and we don't even see anything wrong with that. What is your position on sexism as a student politician? How does that come into play during, the campaigns?
So, as you rightly said, these are things that don't just exist in the corporate world. They exist in student politics as well. So, I've had different examples. Even, for example, let's say local SRCs, when there's a sponsorship committee, you see that when you go out for the event, the president or the secretary, your male counterpart, or you take the lead so that supposedly the man is attracted. Even have some male politicians or big men say to you that, if you want to get to me, use the women to get to me. It's very, very petty, and they might be telling you the truth, but I mean, my male colleague has a phone as well. He has a paper as well. If he has to write to you, he can write to you. So if you reduce, you are not asking me to write to you because you feel that I am the competent person or I have the information that you need. You are only asking me to write to you because you supposedly want to just reduce me to the position of it's a woman, it's how your body looks, it's who I want to speak to. And unfortunately, it exists a lot in politics. And like Lawyer rightly said, it shouldn't just be bottom up. It should be it shouldn't be top to the bottom. It should be from bottom up, because I feel that the social construct has made our minds like that. In as much as we are trying to take responsibility for our actions as women, I feel that every single time we are reminded of this is what you are supposed to do. So before Me Too action, you have someone come to work and say, oh, this is my girlfriend, this is my husband. Did I tell you I want to be your girlfriend or your wife or something? I probably have someone like that who might not be happy hearing you say things like that. It's very petty to the men that do that, but for us as women, I don't think anyone is comfortable with it. And I've engaged with some members of parliament and things like that, and even on their level, they experience it. And then they say that no matter how much you try to emphasize that, I do not want it, you have another man coming to say, hey, wait, yes, I not you, or she would shout on you and things like that. And I don't think it's right. Also, I think it's because we don't talk about it as much, that we are not comfortable. We don't want it to be done. For the student politics space, people go as far as if you don't go and sleep with this particular senior or how they even call them, kingmaker, or move to this kingmaker, you are not going to make it, and things like that. For me, running for a female position, it was even worse because they feel that because you are running for women's commissioner and probably your opponent has done it or your predecessor has done it, so you have to also do same. Otherwise, it's not going to happen for you. And it's very, very, very stressful. I don't know, I just have, running for this particular position, I encountered so much, and I felt that it pushed me to want to do more. Someone saying that it's just women's commission you're going for, and you're branding yourself like this. It's just women's commission you're going for, and you're investing so much in your flyers. So because I'm running for women's commission, I do not deserve to give my best. Nobody, like we have presidential debates for people that are running for presidential debates. Nobody is thinking of having presidential debates for people that are running for secretaries. I'm saying secretary because it's a position that a lot of the time women run for. But then the conversation about secretaries, oh, does she have a nice body? Is her skin nice? Does she speak very good English? Nobody is asking, is she really, really competent to do like the actual writing, to do the actual conversations and things. I don't know, but it's extremely painful. And I'm honored to be here, like sharing my opinions, because I certainly believe that if we continue the conversation, it means that we are identifying the problem, and then we can move ahead and find solutions to it.
Okay. Let's talk about the solutions that we can have to stem the tide in this all-important conversation. Let me start with you, Mami. You're talking from a legal perspective, the need for laws to be there, but also so these laws do not necessarily entrench the very problems we're trying to solve. What solutions would you prescribe for us to be able to deal with gender biases and then make inroads in our quest for gender equality?
I will take it from the point of disability and law, because those are my research interests. In certain spaces, the problem is not with the written law, it's in how the law takes effect. So we'll find that sometimes the biases are not male, female type of biases, but even between certain kinds of females. So for women with children with disabilities, and I'm one of them, you don't have any extra allowance for the fact that your child has a disability. So it doesn't matter how severe the child's disability is, you are treated on the same level as other women, which in itself is a problem. Because what you need, we talk about maternity leave and going back to work, what you need to put in place for your child with disabilities, my son can't see, can't talk, can't walk, that kind of child, to create a safe space for the child so that you can go back to work takes far more than it did for my daughter, who can do all of these things. So even within females, there's a bias towards women who have average or typically growing children. And in gender discourse, we could say it's a patriarchal agenda to, when you are achieving the aims of the patriarchy, which is procreation and creating typical children, there's support. When you're not creating typical children, you're on your own. So there are biases that affect even within the women space, certain women are not represented. Childless women are not represented by the law. If you adopt a child, you don't get maternity leave because you didn't carry the child yourself. But you still have to create a safe space for the child. So even among certain kind of women, there must be a recognition that we cannot treat all alike. And so even with the rights, there have to be nuances to the rights so that we can create spaces where every kind of woman can thrive. And for mothers of children with disabilities, the research shows that predominantly we are single parents. So you have several layers of difficulty to deal with. And so all of these, if we understand the challenges facing such women, the sociocultural issues, discrimination, stigma, all of that factored into our workspaces, then our laws can make more meaning for all kinds of women. That would be better.
Thank you. I'll move on to Lamnatu now. What solutions do you have, or how do we deal with the biases that you have identified? This question is for Lamnatu. How do we deal with the biases that you have identified within our communities where you mostly work, especially by virtue of our cultural and traditional settings?
Thank you. I think that the change must start with us, all of us here. We should reflect among ourselves. In what ways are we being biased, even in our homes? How are we distributing, for example, household chores between boys and then girls? In our communities, we should not look back when we identify some of these biases that are going on. And so the change is going to start with us as individuals, and then people will see it reflecting in our communities, in our families, and then others can see it and emulate. If you look at some of the systemic issues that are challenging women, some of them are just about our social norms. And for me, I want to call out to our traditional and religious authorities that it's about time we perhaps look at what are some of the norms that are positive that we should continue, to uphold, and what are some of the norms that we think are degrading. Our religious bodies have, so much space in our sermons, in their sermons. We should keep hammering that, look, this that is going on is a bias towards the female gender, and we must stop it. And then also, I want to call out to the media, because for me, I think that this whole month is a gender month, and they must dedicate all the space they get to talk about the biases that are affecting women and girls. And for me, I think when we begin doing this, the change will come gradually, but it will be within us. Thank you very much.
Sandra, for the difficulties you faced because you decided to be a woman in STEM, what would you suggest as solutions so that other girls, and there are a lot here who are listening to you, wouldn't have to go through the same difficulties as you did?
Thank you very much. I think that the first call, the child's place, actually, socialization starts from the home. So we have to start from our various houses. Try to encourage these girls to come up to like these courses. And before I answer any more questions, as we are breaking the biases, we are also supposed to do the hashtag of the women in these fields, especially in the science fields. In my department, for instance, we are 3 females. Before we came on board, we had only 1 female in my department, who is the head of department now. Her name is Mrs. Professor Adebanji, and she's here. I would really like to say thank you for giving us that opportunity, that we would all be able to go ahead and do as she has done. And then KNUST, there is a woman in science, that is women in science, technology, engineering, and also in the house here, that would encourage you to know that there are lots of women who are into physics, there are lots of women who are into mathematics, there are lots of women who are into engineering and then technology. There are lots of examples out there. You first have to know what you want to do, and do not let anybody discourage you. There are mentors there that are willing to help. When you have any other questions, if you have any other difficulties, ask questions. Be able to understand what is the field of somebody in mathematics, what's the field of somebody in science and technology. And then we would also like the men to take us very serious, because we are The fact that we are women in mathematics doesn't make us masculine. It makes us feminine in the field that we want to make it soft for the other girls who are also coming up. So be encouraged. We are here and we will help. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Throughout the conversation, we've heard how other women's performances have gone to affect the potential of others. So my question to you, Honorable Abena Mosea-Sari, is how do we ride on the achievement of women who have been there and done it to pave the way for those who may want to follow same path, especially in politics?
Thank you. I think that first and foremost, when we see women who have achieved so much, that should give us hope that we too can make it happen. So the first and foremost thing that I believe that we can use our women achievers in the formal sector to speak to is hope. Once you have hope that you can do it, yes, you can do it too. I also want to say that society should be more tolerable to women opinions. Sometimes when women are bold and assertive, they say you are rude. When women pay attention to details, they say you are fussy. It happens most of the time in the corporate world. And then they tend to brand women as too emotional, where that too emotional means you're unreasonable. But it's just that you want to pay attention to detail and get the best out of the situation. It's just that you want to be bold and assertive to carry out your point. And I want to tell the young people here that there's nothing wrong with being bold and assertive. There's nothing wrong with being paying attention to detail, because in the corporate world, that really saves you a lot of trouble. And so these qualities will help you in the end. So irrespective of how society sees it, I believe that society should be more tolerable to women's opinions. Sometimes on the table, on the same table, you make a point coming from a woman, the way it is accepted is not the same as will be accepted if a man uses that same point that you have spelled out on the table. And sometimes it hurts. But let us continue to persevere, because women are known to persevere in all situations. We look at the Asantua, we look at Sewa Agyapong, we look at, and we see a lot of these things around us. So let all these people give us hope, and then let we ourselves also push and persevere. I remember the first time I went in to get the forms, I wanted to do ACCA. Previously, when I completed SHS, you'd have to stay at home for 2 years before you go to the university. So I wanted to do something to occupy me in those 2 years. So I ventured into writing the professional exams. And then when I went to one of the schools, the proprietor said, you want to do ACCA? And I'd rather give you marketing. And then I went back home and I told my father, said, didn't you tell them you are Abna? He always encourages me. So we need our men to encourage us. Didn't you tell him, you are Abna and then you can do all things? Eventually, I moved to another school and I was able to do it. Within 5 years, I finished the university and then completed my ACC as well. So I just want to give you hope that if somebody has been able to do it, you can do it. We want our men, we want our women to encourage us. You are Ama, you are this, you are that, and you can do it. If other people have done it, then clearly you also have what it takes to do it too. Society, I should say again, should be more tolerable to women's opinions, because in being bold and assertive, we are trying to get our points across. In paying attention to detail, we are saving all of us from something that, if we hadn't done that, would have slipped by and caused problems. So today, I want to use this opportunity to tell you that there is hope, and the hope is what you see in the women you have here and the women sitting there. Once we all have been able to do it, you also will be able to do it. Thank you.
Finally, let's hear your take on how we can change the narrative.
So I believe that it comes down to society. I think that we should be able to unlearn and relearn. We should be prepared to accommodate women, like the minister said, such that I believe if we are able to do that, younger people are going to see that, oh, they are going to recognize that there are people there and then they didn't get there because they weren't competent or they were all those other bad perceptions. So if we are able to unlearn and relearn, we're going to be able to see more inclusion, we'll see more representation, and say in the next 5 to 10 years, we'll have more than 40 women in parliament, would have women as all the ministers on some of the very, very important positions and in cabinet and all, and not just deputy ministers. We'll have women not just being deputy CEOs themselves. So I would end by saying that representation is important, because when someone my age or someone younger than me is sitting there and is watching me here, the person can directly assume that soon, in 3 to 4, 5 years, I can be this person. So representation is very, very important, and we need society to encourage us to do this.
Thank you very much. A round of applause for our panelists. We are going to move into the audience now and take a few interventions, and I'll start with Nana Hima, Paramount Queen Mother of Agogo traditional area, who has been doing some work within the cultural and traditional setting with young girls. I would like her to tell us about the work she's doing with these young girls and how it's going to positively impact their lives. Thank you very much, Nana Hima. A round of applause for Nana Hima, please.
In my area, first of all, I have to thank the President's wife, Vice President's wife, First Lady, Lady Julia Osetutu, and the rest of the panel, and also everybody who is here, that you invited me to this occasion. My area, I call the girls and I educate them. They should be on their books, because without education, you are nothing, especially when you are a girl. Titino, na yanana nomno, emfa emma enko school, because emma education is important. But nowadays, emma education is very, very important. Emma no, esan say yebo yen emma fin na wo man ntino. There be a emma no won enim chen emma no. But what I would advise the girls to do, a man say, Obia enye no hona osua ade, send a beya dachi obekonanim, nenye esisie, like we are saying, say, a mema no afayan so, the bibia na a mema. But what men can do, no, women also can do. Madam Osi.
We have a number of young people here, so let's take an intervention from one of them. Lisa Marie Ukanse Dalasi Kaki, member of the debaters team at St. Monica's Secondary School. Let's hear from you.
Good morning, everyone. All protocols duly observed. My name is Lisa Marie Ukanse from St. Monica's Senior High School, and I'm really honored to be able to also stand before you all and share my opinion and, of course, ask some questions on gender bias. I would first like to start by saying that feminism is about giving women not just one choice, but several choices, and that feminism is not about using it as a stick to beat other women. So I would want to ask why we as women ourselves bring other women down. Why is it that we see our impediments as our weaknesses when we can actually see them as our strength? Because just because you are able to communicate, it doesn't make you any less or makes you a secretary because you can write. It's because you are competent. And the question is, who are we trying to prove our competence to, and who are we letting define our confidence. So we should just understand that these are not impediments. And I heard this saying from Margaret Thatcher that when you want something said, you call for a man, but when you want something to be done, you can call for a woman. Thank you.
We have learned today here that as we want to break the bias and also change the narrative, we need to carry the men along to be able to understand where we are coming from and where we are going. And so we have a young man here who is in our audience, and he's going to share his thoughts on the discussion that we are having today. Emmanuel Bedukba, BY 410, from Opokowari Secondary School debate team.
I'm very honored to be in this audience to share my vision and what I know about this. I can't remember when I was in class 4, I lost the first position to a female, and I was very, very furious. But that wasn't the first time I was second. In fact, I had had much worse positions than that. But the difference this time was that I was second to Yafra Kuma, a lady, a female in fact. Yes, because the society that we are in makes us to understand that as a male, you have to be better than a female in almost every aspect, well, except with the chores. Yes, so it didn't even end there. When I came home that day, my parents questioned me why on earth I made a female to pass me an exam. And can you bear my prayer? So you see, in something like this, in a situation like this, what mentality would I be growing up with? What would be in my mind? What did my parents teach me on this day? That as a man, you have to be better than a female? Oh no. You see, I also live in the house with my younger sister, who is very, very good when it comes with management. Give her something small and she will be able to utilize it to do a lot of things. But me, oh, I would squander everything. So now supposing Daddy has a company, and then somebody is to, take after my father or manage this company, and I'm taking ahead of my sister just because of her gender. Wouldn't that be unfair? Because technically in that aspect she's better than I am. So I call. Me personally, I am going to ensure that I stand for women wherever I am. I'm even starting with my sister. My sister wanted to just do something, so I said no. If you want to even do nursing, you wouldn't end with a diploma. Get a degree and then the PhDs and others. I want to also hear that you are the brother of this, that. Yes. Because when we look here, we see the auditorium beautified with the flag of Ghana. And it was designed by a female, if I'm correct. So it means that even Ghana, from the onset, females has been a part of us. And we have to uphold them. I support break the bias. Thank you very much.
Let's now give the final intervention to our host institution. We have Hannah, who is a student at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. Hannah's over here.
Hi, I'm very honored to be here this afternoon. Sorry. Okay, so my name is Hannah Agyapong, a second-year student of this prestigious university reading Bachelor of Arts, Media and Communication Studies. So a lot has been said, and over the years, we are all aware that gender biases, as we say, emanate from our traditional setup. So if you're trying to break the bias, it means that we need to start from the roots. Our traditional setup charges the man right from birth to take leadership roles, and the girl or the woman is told to stay back whilst the men lead. It's seen everywhere in our in our political space, socially, even in our educational system, we see it. So, if it's not for the traditional setup and the patriarchal nature of our society, how would somebody say your choice of running mate suggests that you don't take Ghanaians seriously just because the running mate is a female? But this is a woman who has gone through the mill. This is a woman who has achieved academic laurels and has risen to professions which are of importance. So we need to break the bias starting from our mindsets and our patriarchal system. The other thing is that socially we need to work on ourselves and how these traditional norms, how do I term it, how these traditional norms stereotypes women. Even in our health system, if a woman is not able to give birth, the problem is from the woman, not the men. And even in our religious system, intentionally we have put limits on where a woman can get to when it comes to our religious system. And it looks as if when it comes to our religious system, women are the best hosts for these evil spirits, because all women does in our religious sector is to host evil spirits for destruction. And it is so funny. A woman is more than this. So we need a mindset change of who a woman is and who a female is. Even in the educational system, when you read most of African novels, how male writers describe women, it's so heart-wrenching. You will find somebody like Chinua Achebe saying a woman is a cook steward, a sex aide, a listening post, and these are all things that subconsciously gets into the minds of young writers. So going forward, they know that this is your place in the world, so you need to be there. And so going forward, like I said, we need a mindset change of who a woman is. I was a leader in secondary school, and I was a deputy girls prefect. Anytime a visitor comes to the school, who is the school prefect, even if my head girl is not there, she doesn't even count. By default, is the male who is the head. So even in the educational system, we are telling the boys and the girls growing into potential fathers, potential CEOs, potential accountants, potential presidents that, look, you don't have to carry the woman along. You are up for this. The woman just have to remain in the kitchen. So we need to challenge the status quo and interrogate this patriarchal system. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Hannah, and to all our interventionists for those very insightful and brilliant submissions. I'd like to, at this point, thank our panelists. You've done a yeoman's job, and we are grateful that you were here to discuss this. Thank you so much. You may return to your seats. It's a special International Women's Day event, and at the auspices of the Office of the First Lady, we're talking about the theme, Break the Bias. I'm sure we've learned a lot today, haven't we? We definitely have. And just to summarize the key takeaways from the panel discussion you just heard, a number of the panelists talking about the need for us to have that support system. Family support system is very crucial. We also need mentoring, especially for the young ladies who are coming up. They need to see their role models and then learn from them. And of course, I appreciate the fact that Sandra is saying that we are open, we are ready to listen to you, bring your questions to us. So mentoring is very critical. And then I cannot do a takeaway without talking about the need for the media, because I'm in the media. And I do understand that we need to do more as practitioners, as journalists. We need to sustain our coverage of key issues that affect women and girls. Yes, we understand the news cycle, but we also have to make provision for such important issues as affect women, girls, and children in the country.
Thank you very much, Regina. And of course, another key takeaway is the fact that the change starts from us. So as individuals, we need to be conscious of the steps we take towards breaking the bias and towards changing the narrative. Let's start from our homes. Let's start with people we know within our communities, and especially in the cultural settings where we have chores that are reserved for girls to do. We need to begin to change all that so that girls begin to feel that they are equal to men, and whatever they set their hearts to, they can achieve. We would like to say a very big thank you to all of us here in this auditorium who joined the program, and we would like to thank those who are watching us on television and following the program on social media. Thank you once again to our sponsors, NLA, Fidelity Bank, CBG Ghana, Ghana Free Zones Authority, Volta River Authority. We are so grateful and we thank you so much. We hope that you take a few points and ponder over as we break the bias.
We're also very grateful to Latex Foam and Golden Tree for supporting this all-important program. My name is Regina Bote, and that is Fatih Shaibu Ali. It's been an honor being here today, and I said this was the best decision you could have made for International Women's Day. And I'm sure you've proven that, haven't we? Give yourselves a round of applause for being a wonderful audience. Thank you so much for being here. We hope to see you next year. Our message is simple. Go out there and break the bias. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will now take a performance from Agyapong to give us a cultural performance and enjoy ourselves as we bring the program to a close. Thank you very much. Do have a wonderful afternoon and go out there and break the bias.
An old woman over 90 was seen one morning planting coconut tree in her backyard garden. Her grandson had a query. Nana, what you are doing puzzles me. You're over 90, and you know it takes quite a time for coconut tree to come to fruition. And even if you even live beyond that age, in all humility, you might not have the dental capacity to enjoy it. Do you think you will live to enjoy the fruits of your labor, Nana? The old woman smiled, said, I know I wouldn't live to enjoy the fruits of my labor, but I'm planting the coconut tree for you and children yet unborn. This is the title of the song, Akufo-addo. Akufo-addo. Mitro kakamio, minro kakamio. Kakamio po kwa mwasi anansio. Odom sesre kusi anansi munom fwe. Anansi munom fwe. Anansi munom fwe. Anansi munom fwe anansio. Oh kuya Anansi munom fwe anansio. Mitro kakamio, minro kakamio. Kakamio po kwa mwasi anansio. Mitro kakamio, minro kakamio. Kakamio po kwa mwasi anansio. Odom sesre kusi anansi munom fwe. Anansi munom fwe. Anansi munom fwe. Anansi munom fwe anansio. Oh kuya Anansi munom fwe anansio. Mafweni yose juma. Mafweni yose juma. Misheni yose juma. Misheni yose juma. Yebo obisidoni onyewo. Mafweni yose juma. Said your mama funny, you said your mama funny, you said your mama. I said your mama shiny, you said your mama shiny, you said your mama. Oh, the boy, oh, this is all you are now. The funny, you said your mama. Oh, the boy, oh, this is all you are now. But what be a what you fear your crown wall? No, dear could be when a fishy floom. None of us as an Anna. You want in a dream? Could be Yana and to a chen and you. Was the Aquana now, dear? Minimum end to me. Na wunti na media eni chirima na efie ni fie osa kokora mafo efie ni fie. If you I'm so good for a mouthful. If you what are you? I said to be the idea wasn't a memono. You can't find no cheddar Roma. As you could get through so by. You be young couple of fapping. Come forward every fall, yeah, more than before, because it's far for them in front of you. I did them. What are you? And when you mean you're actually, I don't see yourself for 2 well or Jabba. None actually know him for people, the idea. Odi kan breso no engere si abrofo de ehunahuna ba man yi mu na mpe mo je hwe aguo ye chire ko se she support so ana ya santewa ma chire prempe ko asigajwa so mo bepe santewa okwo Okoyiko, about the shoulder of Bramone, where did you? Okoyiko, about the shoulder of Bramone, where did you? I got them. Yeah, Kaima, near can't say be sick, which is to say. What you foresee? For February 6th, if you ever get a Himada, then Kaima. A man is seeing it. Santiwa, Ukwaiku, Mayene, Okoiko, about the short of Ramone. I did you. What are you? Acquire you. Asantua, Ukwaiku, about the short of Ramone. Why did you? Okoiko, Baba, so you're not from one. Why did you? Thank you. I will end with a quotation by the late Kofi Annan. To live is to choose. And to choose well, you must know who you are, what you stand for in life, where you want to go, and why you want to get there. Socrates, the unexamined life is not worth living. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to understand life, respect women. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's now time to take some photos, and we'll go in this order. Kindly indulge me. We'll have all our dignitaries upstage to take the photograph. So we'll have Her Excellency, the First Lady, upstage. We would have Honorable Frema Opare upstage. We'll have our Second Lady, Mrs. Samira Baumia, upstage. We have all our dignitaries upstage to take the photograph. I'll mention who comes next as we go along. So our dignitaries will be on the stage to take the photographs. Thank you very much. Our Queen Mothers should also be getting ready. You come up next after this.
The panelists. Okay, after the Queen Mothers, you call the panelists.
For our closing prayer. Thank you very much.
Please, let's pray. Everlasting Father, we want to thank you and bless you for seeing us through this program successfully. We thank you for all that we have discussed. We are asking that, Lord, you strengthen us even as we go back from here, especially the women, Lord. We pray that your strength will be with us. Father, we commit our dignitaries into your hands as they go back to their various places. We ask for journey mercies, Lord. Take us individually to our homes, to our workplaces, and to our individual schools. And Father, be with girls and women so that in all things, Lord, we'll be able to do what will glorify your name. Thus and many more we ask in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you so much for your presence here. And we're glad that we had a wonderful time. Until another time, please go out and break the bias. Very important. Thank you.